Okay, so let's jump straight into Revelation chapter 8 for this deep dive. It kicks off right after the seventh seal is open, and things get quiet, really quiet.
Yeah, that's right. The text describes this pretty intense silence in heaven for about half an hour, it says.
Ah,
Which, after all the chaos described before, that quiet pause feels, well, significant in the story itself.
definitely a moment to hold your breath before what comes next, because then we see seven angels. They're standing before God, and they're each given a trumpet. What are they supposed to signal, according to the text?
Well, the text seems to present them as the start of something new, a new series of divine actions, maybe judgments aimed at the earth. But actually, before they blow them, there's another key moment described.
Right, involving another angel. This one has a golden censer standing at the altar. And the text says this angel gets a lot of incense, specifically to offer with the prayers of all the saints, on the golden altar right there before the throne.
Exactly, and that's a fascinating link the text makes between the prayers of believers, the saints, and what's happening in heaven. You see the smoke from the incense, carrying those prayers, going up to God from the altar. It shows they're being heard, being brought right into the scene.
And then what happens with that censer is pretty dramatic.
Right.
The angel takes it, fills it with fire from that same altar,
Hmm.
and just hurls it down onto the earth.
Yes, and the immediate result described. Peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. It's shown as this direct consequence on earth originating from that action at the heavenly altar.
So after all that, the text says the seven angels get ready to sound their trumpets. And the first four sound off, one after the other, each bringing something specific and frankly devastating.
First trumpet sounds. And the text describes hail and fire mixed with blood being thrown down, the effect. A third of the earth gets burned up, a third of the trees, too. And interestingly, all the green grass, it's this wide environmental hit on the land.
Wow. A third of the earth, a third of the trees, but all the grass.
Hmm.
The detail stands out. Okay, then the second trumpet. It shifts focus.
It does. Something described as like a huge mountain completely on fire is thrown into the sea. Now, whether that's literal or symbolic, the impact described in the text is what matters here. It hits the sea hard.
How so?
A third of the sea turns into blood. A third of all the living creatures in the sea die. And a third of the ships are destroyed. So again, you see that fraction, a third, showing up. But this time focused on the marine world and, well, human maritime activity.
Okay, land, then sea. What about the third trumpet? That one targets fresh water, right? Essential for life.
That's right. The text says a great star, blazing like a torch, falls from the sky. And it's even given a name, wormwood. It lands on a third of the rivers and the springs of water.
Wormwood. That sounds ominous. What's the effect?
The name kind of gives it away. The text says a third of the waters turn bitter, and crucially, many people die specifically from drinking that now bitter water. So it's a direct hit on human survival through their water sources.
Poisoned water. That's grim. Okay, so the fourth trumpet, where does that one strike?
This one affects the heavens, the sky itself, the sources of light. The description is that a third of the sun, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars are struck. The result is they're darkened.
So less light.
Exactly. A third of the day is without light and a third of the night as well. It's depicted as messing with the fundamental cycle of day and night.
Land, sea, fresh water, light. These are fundamental elements. And after these four, there's a shift, isn't there? A kind of warning.
Yes, a very clear one. The text describes an eagle flying overhead, crying out in a loud voice. It cries, "Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth because of the trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the other three angels."
Whoa. So it explicitly signals that whatever comes next with the last three trumpets, the woes, is meant to be even worse.
Precisely. It acts as a stark dividing line and a warning within the narrative sequence.
Okay, so just looking strictly at what Revelation 8 lays out for you, the listener, there's this pattern. Silence. Then the censer-linking prayer and earthly impact. Then four distinct trumpet blasts hitting specific parts of creation, land, sea, rivers, sky. And each seems to affect a third, leading up to this loud whoa warning. It's very structured, very specific in the text.
Absolutely. It's not vague imagery. It's presented as a very ordered, escalating sequence of events with specific consequences.
So here's something to think about. Based only on the text we've just walked through from chapter 8. You have a detailed sequence, silence, pray, incense, fire, then four judgments hitting specific natural realms, always a third, followed by a clear warning. What might this very precise structure, the specific targets, and that recurring fraction suggest about the nature or the purpose behind these events, purely as they are depicted right here in Revelation 8? Something to consider.